The Dukes reign in Brooklyn. The 12 over the 5, James Madison taking down Wisconsin 72-61, advancing to the second round for the first time in some 41 years. JMU, they got a good team. Terrence Edwards Jr. leading the way with 14 points, 5 rebounds. Max Klesmit went for 18, but the story of this game was the turnovers for Wisconsin. They turned the ball over 19 times, and JMU scored 27 points off of those 19 turnovers. James Madison, the champions of the Sun Belt, Fun Belt, they entered this tournament having won 13 straight games, longest streak in D1 right now, and now they keep on winning. 14 in a row. Stay hot, kids. The kids out of Harrisonburg, Virginia. Give it up for JMU. Back here with Tim Doyle. JMU, upset city, 12-5 over Wisconsin. Your reaction to what?
Dominance. No other way to say it. A lot of people were picking this 12 over 5 because Wisconsin was on a roller coaster this year. It was a team that was ranked inside the top 10 and then got into February, and then the wheels just ultimately started to fall off. And they found themselves again in the Big Ten tournament to the point where I started to believe. I mean, they gave Purdue, they knocked them off. They gave Illinois all they could handle in the championship game. And I was like, all right, they've righted this ship. Even though James Madison was ranked in the top 25 and they had some outstanding wins, went to Michigan State, knocked off the Spartans, I was confident that Wisconsin had figured it out. Until tonight, utter domination from James Madison, the biggest stat. 19 Badger turnovers led to 27 points for James Madison. Those empty possessions ended up costing the Badgers.
What a win for that program. Mark Byington getting to the tournament, getting the Dukes there. They beat a Big Ten team earlier this season, upset Michigan State as a 16.5-point road underdog, and they beat another Big Ten team here to get to the round of 32 in Wisconsin. And look, this is a team that plays really good defense. I mean, they were ranked top 10 in Division I in turnover margin this season. So it's not surprising that they got after the basketball and badgered the Badgers.
Well, Terrence Edwards is a fourth-year junior. TJ Bickerstaff is another guy who's been around the block. They have veterans, and right now they're hot. Oh, baby, are they hot. You saw Duquesne yesterday, Keith Dambrot running the sidelines, and obviously UConn is the favorite to cut down the nets in Phoenix when it's all said and done. But this is just another example of a conference. You mentioned the Sun Belt. They didn't even win their conference. So what would have App State would have, they're sitting at home right now being like, oh, man, that could have been us. So I think the tournament, when it expands, because it's going to expand.
I don't want, no.
It's a lock to expand.
Keep it at 68,
when
please.
They expand, just do this tournament. Princeton, Indiana State, App State, those are the teams that can make splashes right now. We saw teams like Oakland. We saw NC State put it together. Anything is possible, so the more teams, the merrier. Hats off to James Madison. Utter domination, never, ever trailed in this game.
Who are you, Kevin Garnett? Anything is possible? You know that, right? You're yelling out loud. Look, we look at these 12-5 matchups. We had no 12-5 upsets last season, and we get our first here at James Madison over Wisconsin. So now it is what you're going to hear for the next 24 hours. It is the Dukes against Duke. So it's going to be fun. I like that, and that's going to be a pretty fun matchup. Right? James Madison against Duke. Like, why couldn't James Madison knock off Duke? They beat Wisconsin. Why couldn't they beat Duke?
They can beat Duke. I mean, no doubt about it. Duke obviously had to slip up against NC State in the ACC conference tournament. I think Duke is 7 points favored in this game when it gets matched up, and I think rightfully so. I'm not going to pick James Madison to win, but could they win? Absolutely. We saw Vermont even make the game a little interesting, even though it was just for a couple of possessions against Duke. So, yeah, James Madison, they have the experience. Obviously, they have the confidence. They've had non-conference wins. They came out, and this was utter domination. One thing to take note of, tough to shoot there in the old Barclays Center.
We said it before.
Tons of low-scoring games. FAU Northwestern was low scoring.
Had to go to overtime.
This was a game and still went under the number. This was another game that was low scoring. The Yale-Auburn game was not so low scoring, but Vermont and Duke, they had a very difficult time, Vermont, getting any buckets going. It's just something to keep an eye out on that I don't expect this James Madison Duke game to be played in the 80s. I think more than likely it's going to be played in the 60s.
Okay. So it is the James Madison Dukes against Duke in the next round for a spot in the Sweet 16 as James Madison pulls off the upset against the 5 seed. And James Madison has now won 32 games this season. That's the most in Division I. That's moving past. Wow. James Madison, give it up for James Madison. Like, this is great for the Sun Belt, right? And they stay hot, kids, indeed. They've now won 14 in a row and now looking to pull off another upset against Duke. But, hey, celebrate this, James Madison. Your first round of 64 win in 41 years. So they are getting into the next round for the first time since 1983.